き殻に土をかけるそれで禁じられていたとしても純粋な眼差しの快楽には不思議でない誘惑があったどうして罪があるの Okay, it's reading time. No more singing. I was just bored. Alright. I see. So, she's not a witch, but a mistress named Beatrice who lived on the island. So, there can be more than 18 people, which means I can defeat the line of reasoning that says any crime impossible for all 18 people must involve magic. That's a big scoop! Pardon me. Butler, would you like some black tea and cookies? Beato's butler, who called himself Renault, appeared out of nowhere. I think I'm gonna go with that, then. The plate set on a silver tray that he held was filled with delicious-looking, steaming black tea and cookies. I really don't like this guy's smile, but for some reason, it doesn't look like a smile used to warmly greet a guest. It feels like he's mocking me somehow. I don't know if he really takes me for an idiot, or if it's just a joke or something, but it's really irritating me. I don't need any. I'm busy now. Leave me alone. Oh my. Such a shame, and the cookies were so delicious, too. Look so wonderfully they'd be wasted on a mere human. I'll eat some when I feel like it. Just set it down somewhere and get out of here. Will that be acceptable? Then I shall do so. You may eat them when they get cold and stale, and regret to the fullest that you did not eat them while they were fresh. You really are annoying. Well, you're a lot better than that Beato who keeps doing that creepy cackle right next to my ear. Yes, that is quite true. There are times when Milady's laughter becomes quite undignified. Every time I hear it, I find it painful to comprehend. Why such a noble demon as myself must serve such a master? Man, you're weird. If you don't like it, then you can just not work for her. And yet to continue serving is furniture's joy. If we do not serve, we would hardly be furniture. Setting that aside, how has the game been proceeding? Just now you seem to have found some useful information that quite pleased you. Well now, I wonder what your shallow wit has conjured up. As Renave mocked me and giggled, he followed my earlier words literally and placed the black tea and cookies in a random spot nearby. In any case, it appears you are now more confident in the existence of the 19th person, yes. Would you be more gracious enough to allow me to hear your opinion? Yeah, sure. I'm just gonna say it again in front of Beto anyway. No reason to hide it. Basically, it looks like there's a hidden mansion somewhere on this island, and that grandfather and his mistress was living there. So the question that's been torturing me about whether there are 18 or 19 people can be easily resolved. You have driven yourself into a corner because of the dead end that you yourself have created, even though you deny the witch battle. You hold a double standard and refuse to accept the culprit as one of the 18. The easiest way to deny the witch would be to suspect one of the 18. It isn't easy to gather alibis for every one of them. You always find at least one person with a fragile alibi. I could probably continue to deny the witch forever if I just used that person as a scapegoat. However, if I refuse to do that, it's useless. It's all useless. Every one of those 18 people is either a parent, a relative, or a cousin to me. And those reliable servants who are sometimes serious and sometimes fun to be with. I won't let myself use any one of them as a scapegoat. In the past, my resolve wavered. That's how Beato hit me where my heart was weak. Accepting and understanding one's own weaknesses is not something that can be often accomplished. Butler used this theory about a 19th person as a spear, or should I say, a shield. In any event, in contrast to how unprepared you were in the previous games, the fact that you now have a compass bearing on how to fight is a dramatic leap forward, let us say. With this, you can suspect a 19th person and pursue your theory that the culprit is a human, without having to do any doubt of the 18 people you love and respect. That's it exactly! Like in the first game when Kano was killed in the boiler room. There are plenty of tricks I could have mentioned without hesitation, as long as the 19th person existed. In the very first game, Kano was killed in the boiler room. One might think he was attacked by Kumasawa, who had gone down to the boiler room with him, or maybe that someone who appeared to be dead earlier was actually faking and had ambushed him. Either way, it was a move that forced me to suspect one of the 18. However, by simply proposing a 19th person existed, there was no longer any need to suspect one of the 18 for that murder in the boiler room. In short, I can at least deny the line of reasoning saying that if something is impossible for every one of the 18, therefore the culprit is a witch. Using this argument, it's easy to explain. For example, the problematic case that's already occurred in this game. Who gave Maria the letter? Even if all 18 people have alibis, I could easily explain everything by saying a 19th person must have visited her and given her the letter. I say that's quite a good move. Now, how would I strike back against it? You still have plenty of weak points, even if you are aware of them. Maybe the 18-person attack would be an effective move. To judge the strength of your defense, it may be amusing to contest that point again. Then how will you do it, Demon Butler? I believe it would be appropriate to ambush the piece representing this 19th person that you mentioned. Battler, you've never met this 19th person yet. Would you please show some proof this 19th person exists? How naive! Of course I knew you'd probably try that move! My. Please respond to it. Witches and demons and the like. There's no more fitting move for you guys to use. It's one of those devil's proofs. When you're trying to make some claim to humans like us, we always counterattack by telling you to show some proof. Because that's a human move. But I'm fighting with a witch. I'm taking part in a battle with someone who isn't human. Some moves exist that can only be used in a game against a witch. There are some cheat moves. And that's what this devil's proof is. Because it's impossible to prove. Let's assume there's a hidden mansion on Rokkenjima, separate from the Ushiromiya family mansion, and that a woman named Beatrice lives there. In order to prove this, one must find this mansion and actually bring Beatrice out of it. That's what's called actual proof in the human world. However, if we follow the rules of the devil's proof, you can't deny that she exists, and even if there's no proof that she does. Because it's impossible to prove that something doesn't exist. That's right. I'm finally able to turn the tables using the devil's proof, which tormented me so much before. Those guys were always trying to force me to accept the existence of the witch with it. After all, it was physically impossible for me to show any proof that witches don't exist and deny Beato's claims. That's why I kept getting hit with reckless argument that witches do exist and was unable to counterattack. And that's why I'll spin the chessboard around right now. If I can't disprove the existence of the witches, then that means if I suggest a 19th person exists, you can't deny that either. In other words, because this problematic and mysterious mistress is capitally hiding herself, it'd be perfectly natural if you never found her, no matter how hard you looked. So you can't say that your inability to find this 19th person proves that she doesn't exist. Therefore, it's impossible to deny the 19th person's existence. Beata used the devil's proof to deny her own existence impossible. But this time, it's become my weapon. If we can get away with this argument, then just forget a 19th person. This island could be full of people we don't know about. Even if there were 10 of them or 100 of them, she still couldn't deny they existed. In the last game and the one before that, among the murder scenes that showed up, there were several that were extremely intricate and must have taken a lot of effort to set up. It's really hard to imagine a single culprit setting up all of those. However, it's not just a 19th person, but 10 or 100 people that were hidden somewhere. That wouldn't be any problem at all. If they all split up the work, they could handle any sort of job in a period of time. Of course, doubts will naturally arise to whether a large group of people like that could sneak around the mansion without being noticed. But those are all solved by the devil's proof. You can't deny that 100 people were there just because they weren't seen or noticed. Even though I'm saying it myself, it's such a stupid argument that it makes me want to throw up. However, because it's such a dirty move, it's a perfect one to use against a witch. Well, this is just my imagination. But what if about 100 suspicious men wearing goat masks were hiding in the shadows? Something like that that's worse than laughable. Almost like they're not saying that word. If you see one, it means there's 100 more hiding somewhere. I will die if I say that word, I'm sorry. Well, I do think it's a ridiculous argument that's horribly twisted. If my opponent were human, I'm sure they'd yell at me like I was out of my mind. But my opponent is a witch. And after all, that's the kind of competition we're having, isn't it? I'll use any kind of reckless argument to explain it using humans and deny the witch. Anyway, with this move, I won't have to doubt any of the 18 that are close to me again. I won't suffer a defeat like last time again. I see. You have learned from your previous defeat. That is good. It's no surprise you've become so devious now that you're in your third game. You first strengthened your own defense. That's truly a solid first step. It was quite a spectacular move, I would say. Well, even if we do assume that there was a 19th person, there's still a few tricks left I can't resolve. With the actual number of master keys. No matter how many humans I add, it still isn't a bad first step for the time being. Battler, your trump card is an important piece called the 19th person. You countered my move of asking for the proof words by using the devil's proof. A good skirmish. Although I must apologize for making a move by myself when the lady isn't here. I find that I too am growing slightly interested. However, if you will allow me to make yet another move on my lady's behalf, let's have it! I have no shortage of opponents, be they witches or demons. This move you presented called the Devil's Proof. It's a specialty of us demons. However, there are various other moves available to us. Do you know of a move called Hempel's Raven? Hempel's Raven? What are you talking about? Just then, that raging laugh I've heard so many times started echoing. The room was filled with dazzling golden butterflies, and in the center of that whirlwind, the Golden Witch appeared. If it isn't Milady, good morning. I thought you might be doing something interesting while I was away. Hempel's Raven, was it? Such a familiar old move, I could almost laugh. To think the day has come when I get to show it off to Battler. It's a classic move to use against a devil's proof. Ronobe, I will make this move. Do not get in the way of my fun. So you've finally shown up, you guffawing witch. I see you're laughing like a freak as usual. This guy was talking behind your back just now, telling me how undignified you look when you do that, right? How rude. Is that true? Nonsense. Why would I speak such gossip about Milady, whom I regard with such sincere respect? I can't believe you say something so shameless! Doesn't look like we'll be getting along well together. Well, that is fine. Let's return to the point at hand. Hempel's Raven is used to show actual proof using the contrapositive. In other words, it's a move like this. What must you do to prove that ravens are black? Huh? What are you talking about? Prove that ravens are black? Wouldn't you just have to catch a raven and check to see if it's black? That's right. You must simply prove that a raven equals black. Do you see that if you instead prove that birds aren't black equals not ravens, you would reach the same argument? If you go throughout the world and examine all the birds that are not ravens and prove that none of them are black, then as a result you can claim that therefore black birds are ravens. This is called an argument by the contrapositive. Is that too difficult for you? It is for me. I got a C in my logic class. I'm not good at that. Yeah, no kidding. I've got no idea what you're saying. Battler, what about this example? Let us say that you have two boxes. One of them is the winner with a cookie inside. Of course, the other one is a loser and it's empty. For example, here are two boxes where one has a cookie inside and it means you win, while the other is empty, which means you lose. At this moment, it has a cookie inside equals you win, which implies that you do not win, equals it had no cookie inside. When such a relationship exists, the latter is called the contrapositive. When if A then B is true, then if not B, then not A is also true. Okay, whenever we start filling in A's and B's, I start getting very confused, and that's also why I failed liberal arts math. I'm sorry, I'm a dumbass. I'm a certified dumbass. Well, that's obvious. Well, the one you guessed was the loser, then you automatically know which other one was the winner. In other words, if you choose the box at random, whether it's the winner or the loser, you'll be able to figure out which box has the cookie in after your first move. That is correct. If the cookie is in the box you open, the devil's proof is satisfied. You can directly prove that this box is the winner equals has the cookie in it. However, if the box you open is empty, then the reverse, Hempel's raven, is satisfied. In other words, this box does not have a cookie in it equals this box isn't the winner. As long as we accept the premise that there are no more than 2 boxes, the constant positive shows the other box is automatically the winner. Well, I think I'm starting to see your reasoning. Only poison can stop poison, and only twisted logic can stop twisted logic. Then what? How does that overturn my claim because there's definitely a 19th person hidden on the island? Even if all 18 people have alibis, I still don't have to accept witches. Very well. I will teach you about my move. First of all, you are saying the culprit is not among the 18, equals the culprit is the 19th person. So if you use the contrapositive, it ends up like this. In short, the culprit is not a 19th person, equals the culprit is one of the 18. Huh? What do you mean? Only that I've countered your move. Let's try and keep things simple. Ronove, explain. It seems you made things easy enough for Battler to understand with your cookie in a box analogy. Then forgive my presumption. Allow me to explain my earlier example once more. Allow me to repeat my earlier story about 2 treasure boxes, one of which has a cookie in it. In this situation, you have an 18-person box and a 19-person box, so the cookie represents the culprit, Battler. Let's say you open the 18-person box. Because the cookie is not there, you have paradoxically proven. Therefore, the cookie is in the 19th-person box. That lets us make an even more paradoxical claim. In other words, if it was first shown that a 19-person box was empty, it would prove at the same time the cookie is in the 18-person box. Battler played this move in order to avoid having to doubt any of the 18. But now it's being used to prepare an 18-person attack. What the hell? If I go first and prove the inside of the 19-person box is empty, you will automatically have to accept that the cookie is in the 18-person box. All I've done is say it the other way around, yes. So that move I was so confident in was actually a double-edged sword? That's right. As soon as you played that move and attempted to explain everything with a 19th person, you've already taken on a risk that you might be forced to accept the culprit was one of the 18. Excuse me. Okay. I see. Hempel's Raven. So this is a countering technique? Wait, if I really think about it, this counter is really disadvantageous for me. This isn't a cookie we're talking about. If I imagine the loser treasure box chest actually has a bomb in it, it gets even clearer. There aren't just 2 treasure chests, but 18 plus 1 more for the 19th person. If you think of it as a total of 19 boxes, it gets even easier to picture. First off, one of the premises of the human culprit theory is that the bomb will definitely be in one of these boxes. I didn't want to place the bomb in the boxes for any of the 18, so I used the devil's proof and created the 19th person box so I could just throw the bomb in there. That much was fine. But then Beato struck back. Now the contents of the 19th person box are empty. That automatically means that the bomb is in one of the other 18 boxes. If I could examine what's inside all those 18 boxes, As long as I can show the bomb isn't in any of them, I'll be able to safely show that the 18 are innocent. If that were possible, I'd have nothing to fear. However, in reality, that would be almost absolutely impossible. The police wouldn't come here in this typhoon. We don't have access to scientific investigations or experts or anything. In short, we can't prove anything decisively. It'll be impossible for me to find any proof other than simply gulping down whatever each of the alibis of the 18 give. That means I have to personally prove their innocence. I have to do it perfectly. Like staying by them the whole time, never letting them out of my sight for a second. By doing that, I could probably be sure of that person's innocence. Sure that the bomb isn't in their box. However, in practical terms, that would be impossible. In other words, I'd have to expend an incredible effort just to check the contents of one box. And there are 18 of them. In other words, unless I bound all 18 of them in chains and watch over them, it'll be impossible to prove that all of them have empty boxes. However, Beto only has to open one box in the 19th person box and show that it's empty to prove that the bomb's in one of the other 18 boxes. Furthermore, there's no need for her to show which of the 18 boxes has the bomb. I've got 18 times more work to do to explain my pet theory than Beatrice does for hers. When a devil's proof exists in the world, it takes a vast amount of effort to argue against it. There are many cases of which it's impossible to do because of the situation. However, Hempel's Raven turns that problem around and makes it possible to prove things easily. By using Hempel's Raven, various reckless arguments become possible to prove true or false. For example, let us say I make the proposition that all humans except me are foolish equals. Normally, I would have to examine all of humanity except myself and show they are all foolish. However, in reality, it would be impossible to investigate billions of people. It's just the same sort of effort you need to open all 18 boxes. However, using Hempel's Raven, the contrapositive of that proposition would change it into this. If you use your phrase, spin the chessboard around, on the claim that all humans except me equals foolish, you would have to do nothing more than prove that not foolish equals me. And what do you think that means? As soon as I know the fact that I am wise, I will be able to show in an instant that every one of those billions of people in the human race is foolish. In less than a second, I could finish proving that the entire human race is more foolish than me. It is truly the strongest and fastest QED in the world. This, Hempel's Raven. What a ridiculous argument! It is a very, very convenient move. Not only demons, but gods also use it. When they propose that the blessed equals the servants of a god, the contrapositive is a human is not a servant of a god equals he must not be blessed. So, in order to prove the servant of gods are blessed with divine protection, they only have to bring ill fortune down upon those people who don't receive such protection. So by bringing misfortune down upon those who don't believe in them, they prove their blessedness. An enormous cost is required to give humans happiness. However, it takes a lot less to bring humans misfortune. So by using Hempel's Raven, gods are actually giving believers the joy of divine protection for cheap. You demon! It's a demon's argument. That's crazy! It seems we've gone off topic. Let us get back to the point. The move for my counterattack is complete. And now, in response to your claim that the 19th person is the culprit, therefore the 18 are innocent and the witch doesn't exist. I say therefore, if I can prove that the culprit is not some 19th person, we can be sure the culprit is either one of the 18 or a witch. Right. For a while, I just stood there shocked, completely forgetting to close my mouth. Just when I thought I'd countered one of the strong points, their counterattack had been this reckless argument I couldn't have possibly anticipated. Is this gonna be impossible after all? To continue denying the witch on the island with no more than 18 people, and still believe in the innocence of those 18 people. Is that just a delusion? Am I just trying to escape reality? Not yet. Don't give up this desperate struggle yet. Who cares about whoever is Raven? They're just trying to confuse me by bringing up weird bits of trivia. I used the devil's proof. Don't feel uncertain about something you've used once. Believe in the spear you've drawn, and then forcefully gouge it in. We're still in the opening part of the game. Do you plan to keep thinking on this level? Wait a sec. I want to be sure. I'll admit I talked about a 19th person to keep it simple. But what if we're going to use the devil's proof to raise the number of people above 18? Then we have no way of knowing if there were 10 people, 100 people, or an indeterminable number of people. There's always more than one than you assume. Get it? They countered my twisted logic with something even more twisted. The only thing that could counter that would be even crazier twisted logic. I see. Even if I somehow prove an alibi for the 19th person, as soon as I do, you will think of a 20th person and claim they are the culprit. By repeating this endlessly, you would make it so I kept searching for alibis for all eternity. I see. Just like a demon king summoning a plague of locusts. I wouldn't expect anything less from Kinzo's grandchild. It looks like you've been gifted with a talent in summoning. In short, it's impossible to always prove an alibi for each person X outside of the first 18. How do you like that, Beto? Now that I know we're having a battle with twisted logic, I won't lose. How foolish. Who do you think I am? I'm the Endless Witch. The thought that you would challenge me endlessly is just absurd. Endlessly control means I'm able to kill endlessly. When your 19th person folds, you will summon a 20th. And when your 20th person folds, you will summon a 21st. And when your 21st person folds, your 22nd person folds. You will summon a 23rd person, a 34th person, a 6... Frick, I missed this. A 6, 4, 3, 5, 8, 2, 2, 3, 5, 6, 5, 7, 9, 6, 7, 3, 0, 4... person. I'm sorry, I'm not good with number. I'm a dumbass. Did you think that you had me at your mercy for all eternity? I'll have to reread that someday. Someone will have to correct me for sure. I laugh at infinite regress. The infinite doesn't work against me. Well then, how will you kill my endless? Just try and show me. I have the power to speak the truth in red. Here it comes. When I speak in red, it will contain absolutely no illusions. If I say once in red that there are no more than 100 people on the island, you will no longer be permitted to create a 101st person. See, battler, what truth shall I say in red this time? Where shall I strike for the kill and force you to hopelessness? Come, show me your usual frightened face. What? Why are you laughing? I wonder what kind of creepy look I had on my face as I laughed right then. That red sure is scary. Every time it jumps out, I'm driven to the depths of hopelessness. I already realized something. There's no need to be overly afraid of the red. You brought out your trump card again. So, How and what for Beatrice will use the red for this time?
What do you mean by that? Suddenly looking so relaxed.
Sorry, but I was waiting for you to take out that treasured blood red treasured sword of yours. Let's see what you'll proclaim in red this time. You aren't going to say the culprit was one of the 18 people, are you? Be careful, because that would mean self-destruction for you, right? That'd be the same as throwing away your own witch theory yourself. A complete resignation. That's right. The red wasn't always a weapon that worked in Beato's favor alone. It was the other way around. If she used the wrong way, it'd be dangerous enough that she could bring about her own death. If she used it carelessly and said something that ended up denying herself, that'd be exactly the same as self-destructing. Of course, it would be sad and difficult for me to accept if you told me then Red that one of the 18 was the culprit. No matter who the culprit actually was, I definitely have to deal with some tough emotions. But before that, it would mean your defeat! Saying in Red the culprit is a human is equivalent to your proclamation of resignation. If you wanted us to finish each other off in a simultaneous clash, I'd say that's a pretty interesting move. However, this particular battle will end in my victory. Beatrice's red was her true trump card. When that person speaks in red, it's definitely the truth, and no amount of proof or counter-arguments can change that. Until now, she's used that to severely wound me, and each time the tiny foundations supporting my heart get split in half. However, if she uses it carelessly, I can also use it to glean a little information about the truth. In the last game, I used that to my advantage, especially during the chapel's closed rune trip, and almost completely got her boxed in at one point. She was pretty sly herself. She learned from experience, and since then she started using discretion in the timing of her red. This feeling of tension was almost literally like a battle with real swords. This is a high-level intellectual battle. No, not an intellectual battle. This really is twisted logic. This is the world's craziest and worst battle of twisted logic. Okay, now it's time to hear your plan. That's right, to use your Hempel's Raven. First, you confirm in red how many humans there are other than the 18. Damn it, I coughed. Alright, give me a bit. Let's try that again. Oh my god. You know, I should have brought in water, but I was stupid. I need to take a break. I need water. I'm stupid. I'll be right back. Sorry, I'm unbelievably dehydrated right now. Alright, let's continue. Okay, now it's time to hear your plan. That's right. To use Hempel's Raven, first you have to confirm in red how many humans there are other than the 18, and after that, if you proclaim in red that none other than the people in this group are the culprit, that's right. That might be a fatal wound to me.
I'm surprised you are no longer even have an atom of fear for the red, which once you terrified you so much. You're quite resilient.
Try taking it out. That treasure sword, that trump card of yours. This time you might be able to make me surrender with a single stroke, right?
Interesting. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Agitate her. Challenge her. Drive her into a corner and make her speak in red. Of course her red's always wiping out my only rays of hope. But don't be afraid of that. On this island overcome with falsehoods and illusions, the only thing I can trust is the information she speaks in red. It's my only way across the chasm of hell. Just a single tightrope. Sorry, I meant to say chasm. My jaw is making clicking sounds. So if it seems like I've been off my off game, that's why. Ugh, I hate it. Every time I'm speaking, when I'm reading, like all I hear is clicking sounds in my right jaw. It's so annoying. Anyway. Her merciless blood-red blade is the only way I can survive. This isn't just walking on a tightrope. It's like literally walking on the edge of a blade. Of course I'm afraid, because my victory condition is the denial of witches. And to use her contrapositive logic, the culprit must be human. But I didn't want to search for a culprit amid the 18. That's what made me stick to a weak position, so I had to claim that it wouldn't be a witch, and it couldn't be one of the 18. Last time I was unable to understand that, so that's where she hit me, leaving me tired and defeated. But that's okay. Let her hit me. Let her attack. No problem. Someone said it once in an old sword fighting movie. A good fortress has one, and one only intentionally weak point. And the enemy would gather there. They'd be lured there. That would be where the actual battle took place. As long as I understand my weak points, and as long as she wanted to attack those weak points, it was as if I was luring her into launching an attack there. Gauge the distance between us with care, retreating step by step. Make them move forward. The more she recklessly flourished that red, the more chances I would get to strike back. Don't be afraid of the red. Keep her cornered so she'll have no choice but refute me with the red. No matter how oppressively she speaks in red. That's right. That red itself is the same as fresh blood leaking from her wounds. So, what's wrong? First of all, why don't you tell me how many people are on this island untold? If you don't, your raven can't cut me up.
How surprising that you can be this desperate, yet this difficult. One cannot make light of someone putting their life on the line no matter what the era. It's no surprise you're Kinzo's grandchild. The more cornered you are, the bolder you become.
Ronove cleared his throat. It appears to be a stalemate. That black tea I worked so hard to make is getting cold, milady. Ronove, who was supposed to be her ally, roguishly rushed to her into making her next move. Beato probably thought she managed to smile back and appear confident, but she couldn't hide the sweat building up on her forehead. By now, she had completely lost the confident feeling that had allowed her to turn her nose up at her worthless opponent. Of course, she probably wouldn't be cornered by something like this. She was just being cautious. Until now, I've been inexperienced. I didn't know how to fight, and I wasn't strong enough to be her opponent. However, now that we reached the third game, she's realized I'm starting to become more skilled. She's grown more cautious, thinking every move over carefully. Sure, that's just fine, Beatrice. Sorry to keep you waiting. Are you happy now? Now it's starting to get more interesting, huh?
Battler!
This isn't getting us anywhere. Then should we get to the heart of the matter and go with the usual?
The usual, you say. Then by all means. If I don't hear you say that, I guess I just won't feel like starting.
The first move was mine. Here I go, Beato. Repeat it! On this island, there are only 18 people. If I hear you say this in red, I'll have no choice to suspect one of the 18. I won't be able to say an 19th person did it, so all the doors will be closed to me. However, I believe the culprit definitely isn't one of the 18. There's no way any of those 18 could commit such brutal murders. I'll say it again. Repeat it! On this island, there are only 18 people!
I refuse. I won't say why.
I avoided what would have been the worst red for me. If she repeated that, I'd be faced with those two worst choices of accepting the witch or suspecting one of the 18. Like last time all over again. Beato hadn't proclaimed my ultimate and greatest weakness in red. She refused to repeat it even though there was no reason for her not to strike. even though it was a weakness she could have been drooling at. I messed up. Let's try again. Hold on. Stupid jaw. Hold on. Alright, let's see if this works. But Beato hadn't complained my ultimate and greatest weakness in red. She refused to repeat it even though there was no reason for her not to strike. Even though it was a weakness she should have been drooling at. She hadn't sliced me up with red by using that move, which should have been as good as forking a rook and the king. This is a big sign of my advantage. That's right. The culprit isn't one of the 18. I won't suspect anyone. And since the culprit isn't a witch either, it means the 19th person exists on the island. And that's you. A person who, as grandfather's mistress of 30 years, has been secretly living in a hidden mansion in the forest for a long, long time. The human Beatrice. That's right. You aren't a witch or anything like it. You're just a human who's been living on this island and hiding for several decades.
Did you just call me, the Endless Witch, who has lived for over 1,000 years, a human?
For a while, Beatrice continued to laugh unpleasantly, gloatingly, or maybe spitefully. Are you ready? I'll keep going. Again, repeat it. There are 19 people or more on this island! Beatrice fell silent once again. She probably remained extremely cautious as long as confirming the number of humans on this island might give her some large disadvantage, depending on the situation. The red has already become a foothold for my counterattacks. Now that we know this, it makes the red very risky for the witch. If she couldn't repeat this, her Heppel's Raven wouldn't be effective. To break my devil's proof, she'd need to set the cell. I keep messing up. I'm sorry. I can't stand it when something is really distracting me. It makes it really hard to concentrate. I'll try it again. Hold on. Okay. If she couldn't repeat this, her Heppel's Raven wouldn't be effective. To break my devil's proof, she'd need to settle the existence of a number of people outside the 18 in red. That's right. She couldn't break the existence of a 19th person unless she used red. I closed Beato in, giving her no choice but to speak in red. It really is a way to fight in the witch's game. It's okay to refuse. You can't say in red, that means there's a total of 18 plus X people on this island. That X is a pretty massive piece to lose on your first move, right? After all, from now on, all the tricks are impossible for the 18. Can be explained with a human X who isn't in that group. This huge piece would break open all the rooms that you said were closed rooms because everyone had an alibi. It's just like how a chess bishop can cut a thin line through enemy forces as long as there's a slight gap. It could only be effectively used on squares of the same color, but it was pretty good at controlling every territory on the board. It looked like Beato also noticed her current plight. She couldn't just let an important piece go, especially this close to the beginning of the game. If she pulled out her treasured red sword, it wouldn't be that difficult to save herself from this. But Beato was completely aware I was expecting it. She was afraid that careless red truth might end up strangling her own neck. Because in the first place, a witch is something that ought to be denied in red. Believe. Don't doubt. Witches don't exist. Something that couldn't exist in this world. They can only exist in the valleys between truths. They have a fragile existence curled up in these cracks, practically trying to protect themselves from the brutal winds of truth. And they can only barely exist like a mirage or surviving on falsehoods and illusions. In other words, the red, which only witches can use, is reality that might easily deny their very being. The more they brandish their red words, the more they begin to lose bit by bit that crack in the truth inside which they can endure. That's why they don't want to use red words and carelessly lose that crack in truth, which is based on fuzzy information, or illusions. In other words, that's because they understand they're gradually being cornered. Of course, that bastard will never admit it, because if she did, it would be the same as admitting that she's something that can't exist in this world, like an imaginary number. Don't be afraid. Stay strong. I know she's the one who's going to be really pierced to the bone. After all, her red treasure sword can't be used without a lot of preparation. It's wrong. I'll say it again. Repeat it! There are 19 people or more on this island.
I refuse.
At the end of Beato's worrying, she took a single deep breath and quietly announced her refusal. I thought she'd use it. Beato refused to speak in red, even though it would cost her victory in the opening part of the game. You refused, which means that from now on, I can create as many fictional characters X outside of the 18 as I want?
Oh my god, it's like, can I add my OCs to your story? Fuck no, Valor. Make your own story. Make your own mystery.
No!
Do as you wish. I refuse to repeat what you have told me. Isn't that enough for now? The reason for my refusal is... No, I won't tell you just yet. Anyway, you'll know soon enough.
Still acting tough, I see.
Choosing not to use the red is another way of using it. You called it my red treasured sword. A pleasant metaphor. I will use it too. A treasured sword is at its best when it's sheathed. In fact, there are times it can instill even more fear because it is sheathed.
That's right. As I fight, I always have to keep in mind whether you might spin everything around with those red words. It's something that sounds like pretty serious pressure. There's also times when you make these things pretty tough by refusing to repeat after me. Those times I can't tell if you can't repeat because my guess was right, or if you're just misleading me and letting me flounder about. If you think of it that way, yeah. It's a sheathed treasured sword. I messed up, I'm sorry.
So what? If I'm going to push you off a cliff anyway, best to let you climb a bit higher first. We have still barely begun. Much is left to come. I'll resign from this challenge. Go and get drunk on your faint victory for now. But only for now. Yes, go ahead and make as many OCs as you want. For now, I'll just pretend that they exist. Oh my god.
Just imagine. I'm rendering one of the videos here. But, I had to pause the rendering because I'm streaming. Practically speaking, the early part of the game ended with her being a sore loser. Even so, I couldn't relax my guard at all. That tension didn't fade one bit, till I was greeted by the sound of Renav's applause.
Spectacular, Battler. Perhaps you have started this game with an advantageous development.
Who knows? I still don't know whether I've taken a piece by my move, or whether she guided me into taking it. After all, knowing you probably know I'm being led into a trap, and that clapping is just you mocking me openly, right?
How could you think that? I am instantly celebrating your ability, which has enabled you to take one shot of Milady, even though it's only the first round. In any event, Milady is a person who is quick to become arrogant. I believe that little encouragement such as this can be good medicine every once in a while.
This butler of yours sure has a vicious tongue.
He does, doesn't he? Sometimes he ticks me off as well. My, how incredibly rude of me. Well, milady, Battler, how would you like some more black tea? The game is still barely begun. Please allow me to prepare all the tea and snacks needed to adorn this game. I ask that you continue your game without any reservations.
I will. Let's move forward. Now it's when it really starts.
Very well. Let's advance the clock. Runabe, black tea, please. Certainly. How about a cookie? I don't need one. Give it to Beelzebub to keep her happy. Remain silent for now.
While listening to the sound of the demon butler pouring tea, the witch closed her eyes slightly and fell silent. For some time she was deeply lost in thought, but eventually a roguish glint came to her eyes.
Very well. Why don't I inform you now as to why I refused to speak in red during that first move?
What? Bring it on. Show me what you've got.
Yes, that piece really was big enough that I'd hate to lose it. It may be hasty, but allow me to make my move. I won't use the red, but from here on, Rosa will explain on my behalf. Listen.
Ooh, here's my favorite part! And it plays one of my favorite songs, too. And, like, this part is so important. It's like, it introduces something. It's just so important to me. For a lot of reasons.
Of course I think the same way. Rosa does too, right? Rosa.
Huh? Sorry. Me too. I think that too. What's wrong, Rosa? You've been really quiet for a while now. Are you feeling sick? From the beginning, Rosa had never been one to cut in on the siblings' fights. But even so, she seemed unmotivated, and had said almost nothing during the night's conference. The whole time she had hung her head, it appeared to be thinking of something else. You've been in a daze for a while now. Do you think you can protect the inheritance like that? Oh wait. Oops, sorry. Sorry, that's Ava. Let me try that again. I need to... Hold on. Alright. Okay. Sorry about that. It's still my jaw.
You've been in a daze for a while now. Do you think you can protect the inheritance like that? You're also the mother of your child, so get a stronger hold on yourself.
I'm sorry.
Did you wake up really early in the morning? If you feel sick, you shouldn't overdo it. The beds in our guest rooms have been prepared. How about taking a rest? I will guide you.
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
What is it? Is there something you're worrying about?
No, not really.
Is that so? It feels like your mind has been elsewhere the whole time. I wonder if that has anything to do with what we've been talking about.
At those words, everyone stared at Rosa together. As if in response, Rosa's shoulders quivered. Apparently, Kyrie's guess hadn't been wrong. Rosa couldn't deny it either. No, She swallowed whatever it was she was trying to say and went silent again. Of course, the other siblings also began to realize something about her appearance was different than usual.
What is it? You've been weird for a while. Did you think of something?
We all just swore to remain united, didn't we? Don't hold back worrying by yourself. We said we'd talk.
Rosa, tell us.
The men pressed her one after another. And Rosa confessed resignedly. I'm sorry. I'm really distracted by my jaw. If I mess up a lot, that's part of the reason why today, okay? I don't know what's wrong with me. Okay, let me try again. Alright. The men pressed her one after another, and Rosa confessed resignedly and nervously. Oh my god. Resignedly. I know how to say the word resign! It's just, this is really weird. Let's try again. The men pressed her one after another, and Rosa confessed resignedly and nervously. The atmosphere made it seem as though she was confessing to some modest prank, which had inadvertently brought about a serious situation. No, this Mrs. of Grandfather's is Beatrice. I was wondering if she's still alive.
Huh? Isn't it obvious that she's alive? After all, she was able to send that letter to us. Whether she's in good health or not is a different story, though. That woman in the portrait must be getting up there in the age by now.
I'd say she's healthy. People who are crafty when it comes to money stay healthy no matter how old they get. Her evil plan might even be the best rejuvenating agent.
She shouldn't be alive. Huh? What did you just say? Beatrice is dead. I killed her!
What did you say?
What do you mean, Rosa? But it wasn't really me who killed her. Though I did bring her to a place like that. No, I did kill her after all. I tried to make myself believe it was a dream. But it wasn't really a dream, was it? Which makes this a letter from Beatrice's ghost.
It was so sudden that everyone was lost for words. Rosa kept on talking, unable to stop holding her head as her hair flew all about.
Calm yourself, Rosa.
I have absolutely no clue what's going on. Already dead? What do you mean?
I think it means two things. First, its literal meaning. And second, it backs up our earlier guess.
Which means Rosa has met with Beatrice, right?
I never heard Rosa mention anything like this. Rosa, when was it? When could you have possibly met Beatrice?
Long ago! Long ago! We just moved over to the island and I was still young! It wasn't my fault! It's not like I killed her!
Calm down. Nobody's blaming you for anything. First, drink some water, okay? Nazi, the pitcher, please.
Yes.
Here you go, Rosa. Please calm yourself.
Until Rosa was able to calm her ragged breathing, no one was able to speak a word. We're gonna go ahead and read this part. There's no way I'd miss it. It's my favorite part. One of my favorite parts in episode 3. So, okay, give me a moment. Beatrice, I have been calling to you for some time now. Did you not hear me?
Were you? My apologies. I was lost in thought. Forgive me.
The weather is pleasant. Yes, I can understand how weather has stolen your heart. Will you have your black tea here?
Who am
I will bring some tea now. Wait here for a while.
Forget about the tea. Talk with me.
Very well. Kinzo had used the excuse of getting black tea to try and interrupt the conversation for the time being, but his attempt had been very transparent.
I sat in the garden chair and beckoned Kinzo to do the same. Kinzo sat down heavily, exaggerating his age. For a while, we sat and appreciated the silence.
Sorry, I should have read it in her voice. My bad.
Who am I? Until today, no one has answered this question. For some reason, everyone averts their gaze and evades me. I have known you for a long time. I think of you as my best friend, even as a father. That is why I want so much for you to tell me. You should know who I am.
Why are you worried about something like that? You are Beatrice, the master of this mansion, is that not so? What more could you want to know?
I do not know.
What's this? Don't you even understand what it is you want to know? How mysterious! In one's youth, there are times one wants to play in the maze of thought that has no exit. Perhaps that's what your worries are.
Kinzo laughed as though it was a trivial matter. However, I couldn't help but feel that this behavior was another attempt to force me to stop any further questioning. So you won't tell me after all?
There is nothing to tell. You are Beatrice. Isn't that more than enough?
No, that's not it. What I wish to know is not my name. I want to know who I am. Who am I? What am I? How long have I been here? How long will I have continued my days here?
I really should bring some black tea. Don't you think it's a waste of all this fine weather? What's all this about? Looks like it's probably the story of your past, right?
Something like that. To think I would go all this far back.
It looks like you had some pretty deep worries even then. Wondering who you were.
That is to be expected. At the time, I was unable to understand who I was, or why I was alive.
Well, in puberty, everyone's captured by those philosophical worries at least once, wondering what meaning there is in their life. Doesn't this just prove you had a charming period like that one point?
I've been in that mansion since the time of my birth, and I only lived inside the mansion. Of course, I went out into the garden, but the area around the mansion was surrounded by a very tall fence. I was unable to leave through it, and I was told severely that I mustn't leave.
It's okay. At least Rosa will be in this part.
But you missed the Hempel's Raven part, but it's okay. I kept messing up because of my jaw. I could walk freely through the mansion and the garden, but outside of that, not once was my desire to take just one step outside of my own accord granted.
What do you mean by that? Are you trying to say as far back as you remember, you were always a bird in a cage?
That's what I thought at the time. After all, as soon as I became aware I was living like that, I didn't even think to question it.
Who in the world are you?
That's it. That's what I also hope to know.
I'm sure you'll say something like, I wasn't a human, I was a witch, right?
No, that's not true. That isn't true yet. Should I say that I was once the case? I was constructed by Kinzo, a human built by a human. No, perhaps I should call it a cage made of flesh.
What the hell? This is getting weird.
You probably won't believe it anyway. But listen first. I was a mighty witch who lived for 1,000 years. But at one point I was summoned by Kinzo, and by that hidden art I was bound as his prisoner for eternity.
Never heard that before. From what we hear in the Ushinomiya family, you were summoned by grandfather, made something like a devil's contract with him, and gave him the gold.
Indeed, that is correct. Then I was supposed to vanish until the contract was complete. But, well, popular women have it rough. By some turn of events, Kinzo fell in love with me.
Grandfather's nearsightedness must have gone pretty bad. With astigmatism, too. To fall in love with you, of all things?
Well, to me, there could be nothing more bothersome. However, the power of humans is a frightening thing. He displayed that fearsome power and took me rooted to this place. He said I wouldn't be freed until I nodded my head in agreement. Such an overbearing man.
Isn't that awesome? Everyone knew grandfather was obsessed with the occult. But who would have guessed he had the power to root down the great rich Beatrice? Ridiculous. Who believes such a weird story?
As I thought, you don't believe.
All I believe is the fact that you live in this hidden mansion in the middle of this forest. You're the 19th person on Rokinjima, right?
Indeed. Just as you imagine, this is deep within the forest of Rokinjima, a hidden mansion not to be found from the outside world. Its name is KUWADORIAN.
9 Birds Retreat. Come to think of it, I heard the guest house's real name was Torayan. Visitors Retreat. I see. The naming sense is similar. So you were grandfather's mistress who lived here in secret. Isn't that right?
Mistress isn't the right way to say it. You should probably call it Kinzo's unrequited love. I spoke of it just now, correct? He fell in love with me of his own accord. He then courted me, but I rejected him. Then I was shut up in this hidden mansion. No, that's not quite right. It'd be more correct to say that I was shut up in this body.
I've got no idea what you said at the end there.
You would just make fun of it and refuse to listen, right? After all, you say you don't believe in witches or magic. If you have no ears to hear what I tell you, saying it would be the pinnacle of foolishness.
I'll decide whether I believe or not. After all, if I don't ask, the story won't continue. Tell me. Let's hear this story from your past.
Very well. I refused Kinzo when he courted me, but he was not a man to lose heart at something like that. He wanted to make me nod my head in agreement no matter what. He shut me up in this mansion and spent an eternity trying to win my heart.
Darn, talk about overbearing. Guess no one likes obstinate men, huh?
Regardless of whether I responded to his courting or not, having a man so desperate for me was, well, as a woman it wasn't so unpleasant. However, I never accepted his proposal. I tried to find some way to break through his guard, but that barrier was firm and I couldn't crack it.
And then?
After trying to resist in various ways, I eventually reached the conclusion that, to escape from Kinzo's barrier, I would have to throw away this body of flesh. The physical body is a vessel with many restrictions for a magic user.
Throw away your body of flesh? What does that mean? Something like an out-of-body experience?
Well, if you want to think of it that way. However, I am no spirit. Even though I am a witch, in the beginning I was born with a human's body of flesh. So for me, throwing away that physical body, while it didn't mean the same thing as death, it required a similar level of resolve.
So in other words, you decided you couldn't be released except by...
Oops. Hold on.
Oh yeah.
It's like...
Oh my god, that's true!
It's like...
Alright, Beto, it's time for round 3, and this time I'll deny you completely!
Hold on, can I vent to you real quick?
Oh, sure, go ahead!
Giant Texas. It was not real. Oh yeah. Oh, yep. Oh my god. I swear this is like a Kinney moment for me, in the sense of I'll vent in the form of telling stories.
In fact, that's actually what I'm doing when I'm making a story of my own, actually. I'm readapting one of my stories. But anyway, so in other words, you decided that you couldn't be released except by ending yourself. Is that it?
It wasn't ending myself. It was nothing more than throwing away my body of flesh. Of course, becoming nothing more than a soul is a precarious situation. When the soul leaves its body of flesh, it is constantly exposed to the strong winds of the sun. It was not easy for me to maintain myself and avoid being scattered by them. It was the final measure I wanted to avoid if I could. However, there was no other way to break through Kinzo's barrier. Anyway, I am an unfettered person. I couldn't stand being kept up in a cage until Kinzo's life was over.
I couldn't see this stuff Beato kept going on about throwing away her body of flesh, as anything more than taking her own life. Grandfather persistently courted her, and to escape from that, She chose her own death? So you're saying that you ended your own life? What are you talking about? Isn't that you sitting carefree there in the garden chair?
That's right. That is the new cage I was given by Kinzo.
Cage? You mean this mansion?
No, I mean my body relaxing in the garden chair over there. Even though I was so desperate to escape that I became naught but a soul, Kinzo still had no intention of letting me go. Oh, he was a fearsome person. Normally when the object of one's unrequited love shows that she is willing to die, it should be enough to bring that person to their senses, even if their love has lasted 100 years. Perhaps that's why he even managed to become a sorcerer of sorts.
Don't try to confuse me with that incomprehensible witch girl talk. What exactly are you trying to say?
That Kinzo didn't let me escape even after I became a soul. Human emotions are terrifying. To think he would be able to exhibit such power. Tying down a dead soul is not something that could be accomplished easily, not even for a magician who specializes in such matters. Because I knew this, Kinzo's fearful magical power shocked me for the first time. Then Kinzo seized my soul and brought me back. However, a cage to hold a seized soul cannot be made from iron or lead. Only one thing remained.
What? You aren't gonna say it was a magical cage or something, are you?
Wrong. It's that body of flesh over there, just like yours or mine. Only a cage made of flesh and blood can tie a soul down to this world. Kinzo shut my soul up in a cage of flesh, built it to be exactly like me.
So, to sum it up, it's like this. Grandfather obstinately courted you, you started to hate it, and then you ended your own life, but you weren't clever enough to finish the job? Damn, you really took a roundabout way to say something like that.
No, that's wrong. My soul was shut up in the seed of a homunculus, and I was born out of a test tube.
Huh? But that's crazy! That isn't even possible, right?
Kinzo accomplished even the miracle of creating life, and simply to shut up my soul in that cage. That he would show such magical power simply because of his own love. A thoroughly terrifying person.
It's already gotten pretty ridiculous. Say whatever you want. I won't believe anything. Just do what you like.
What's with this unpleasant attitude?
In the beginning, I showed a little interest in that there might be some huge hit hidden here, but the more I ask, the weirder this story starts to get. I get the feeling that even though this is supposed to be a game about denying witches, I'm suddenly being forced to swallow this story about witches. Sorry, but I don't feel like listening to this anymore. Just keep on rambling to yourself as much as you want. I'll be over here picking at my earwax or something. When I started acting cold, Beato seemed unusually discouraged. Of course her expression was still shameless, but in that really easy to understand expression of hers, I had the feeling I was able to catch a glimpse of loneliness and my failure to find a story of her past interesting. For some reason, that subtle reaction made her seem pitiful, so even though I kept my careless attitude, I decided to cover for her slightly. Damn it, even though she's an irritating witch, I'm still weak against her because her chromosomes are XX. Well, I've got absolutely no desire to believe you, but keep going. Let's have a bit of a story instead of a tea snack.
So you treat the story of my past like little more than a snack. Do you expect me to casually tell you when you insult me like that?
After I made fun of her, Beato acted a little sensitively. It looked like even though making fun of people was her specialty, she was horrible at being made fun of by others. Just then, my black teacup suddenly made a sound, surprising me.
Milady's soul was seized and breathed into a cage of new life. In other words, Milady received life as a human once more.
Before I realized it, the demon butler had taken my cup and was adding more tea to it.
Ronove, enough of that. This person just said it was just too ridiculous to be worth listening to. Well, he's too ridiculous to be worth talking to. I'm baking some new cookies right now. Until they're ready, I thought you might find the story of my lady's past to be a perfect substitute for a snack. Didn't I say that's enough talking about me? Such unpleasant people, the lot of you. I'm leaving! Ronove, serve our food and then go. No pointless chit-chat with Battler. Certainly, I will make an effort. Before I realized it, the demon butler had... Beato's short temper peculiar to a woman which I didn't really understand took hold of her, and she turned her body into gold butterflies, scattered and disappeared. After that, only Ronove and the scent of black tea were still left. I feel kind of bad, like I pissed her off or something. As long as you're aware of it yourself, I need say nothing more. Wait a sec. Weren't you the one who struck the finishing blow? My, what could you mean by that? How would you like some sugar and milk? Just milk will be fine. And some tea snacks would be nice too. Well, it will be a bit longer before the cookies are ready. Didn't you say that we've already got something to use in place of a snack? Certainly. If you will listen quietly, I will continue the story. She said something about a homunculus. I know a bit about that. It's that thing, right? A manufactured human created with alchemy or something? Yes, Milady's soul was shut up in a homunculus, and she was revived into this world, receiving life again as a baby. However, because she was a baby, any professions of love on Kinzo's part would have been useless. You aren't saying that grandfather shut that baby up in this hidden mansion until it grew to reach the same age she'd been? Correct. That is what I am saying. However, while her soul was the same, a human spirit is strongly influenced by its container. Milady lost all of her memories of the past and grew up as a very normal human girl. And you're saying that's the Beato sitting in the garden chair? Yes, that is correct. It grew to be completely identical. However, it did not possess her power as a witch. Milady was completely human. Beato, who was sitting in the garden chair looking up at the sky, voiced that same question again. She asked who she was. The meaning of those words was finally starting to click. She couldn't understand why she was living here all locked up. Grandfather had seized Beatrice's soul, shut it up in a body of flesh, and then shut that up in a hidden mansion. However, since she had lived here since the time of her birth, she couldn't even understand who she was or why she lived shut up in there. Wait, who would take such a stupid story seriously? Why don't I just change my interpretation? In other words, couldn't it be something like this? Grandfather met Beatrice, then he fell in love with her and courted her, but she didn't accept him. Then he flew into a rage and shut herself inside this hidden mansion. Beatrice tried to escape, but no matter what she did, she couldn't succeed, so she finally chose her own death. And then... no. Maybe there was a girl who looked just like Beatrice. No, a baby. Grandfather raised this child with care, but maybe he didn't view this child as his daughter. That soul was once again shut up in a cage of flesh. Those words probably meant that he didn't view this kid as her child, but as her reincarnation. Maybe that's what it meant. If you interpret it that way, even a weird story like this might make a little sense. No. This might be some bullshit Beato cooked up to confuse me. As if I could accept any of this! In the first place, KUWADORIAN, was it? There's no proof whatsoever that a hidden mansion actually existed. Couldn't this just be something she fabricated on the spot?
A hidden mansion called KUWADORIAN does exist in the forest of Roken.
That is the place we were just talking about. Huh? Red? Renova used the red to say that KUWADORIAN actually existed. Did that mean the same thing as the red Beato used? I may not look it, but I am a demon. Please keep this a secret from milady, yes?
Sure! Beato, who I knew I would try to trip her up, had grown extremely conscious when using the red. To think that Renove could also use the red. However, it was the red of a crafty man. I didn't know how far I could accept it, but anyway, I might be able to get some kind of hint out of it. So that Beato relaxing in the garden of KUWADORIAN, and that conversation she had with grandfather, were the truth?
Yes, it is the truth of the past. In the past, the pair actually had a conversation like this in that place.
Thanks a lot. I'll ask for some more of the red. You said she was born from a homunculus, but does that kind of unscientific magical thing actually exist?
I am unable to answer that question. After all, doing so would cause a stalemate.
A stalemate? What does that mean?
It's a chess term referring to a state in which, similar to a perpetual check, any further progress in the game becomes impossible. This would be the opposite of an endless repetition of moves, because all moves would disappear and it would bring about a kind of deadlock. In chess, this would lead to a draw, just as a perpetual check would. However, there can be no draws in this game between you and milady. Therefore, I am unable to answer a question that would bring about a stalemate.
You obviously want to confuse me by saying incomprehensible stuff, but simply put, you're trying to dodge the question because you can't use the red to say something magical like a homunculus exists, right?
If I were to say that in red, that a witch exists, what would you do, Battler?
Whether or not I believe it, that is what our whole fight's about, right? If I was told that point blank, it'd be game over.
If I said a witch exists in red, you would have no room for argument. However, since the reason would never have been made clear to you, Battler, you probably wouldn't accept it. However, after being told that in red, you would have no room for argument and would not have been shown any proof. In this situation, even though you wouldn't be able to admit defeat, you would have no way to make a counter-argument, and it would become a deadlock. Even though checkmate would not have been reached, there would be no existing moves left. Since you would not be able to play your next hand, it would never become milady's turn, and the game would stop there for all eternity. As a result, milady would be unable to force you to submit. That would be a deadlock situation. In order to avoid that, I am unable to answer questions of this nature in red.
So, to say it quickly, you're saying point-blank questions are prohibited? Well, I guess that's true. If I were told a witch exists, I'd have to give up from the start.
I am pleased that you understand. I believe we might be able to work together if you ask your questions in a different form.
Can you help me with that line Beatrice dodged when I told her to repeat it, about the number of people on this island?
If milady held back on repeating it, then of course I cannot respond. As milady's furniture, I am unable to be too forward.
Renove made an exaggerated gesture trying to act like a loyal retainer. This guy's so shameless. Just when I thought you might actually be useful. I'll give up on that and search for a different question. That's right, I was forgetting to check something important. This is a story about Beato's memories, right? When did it happen? Couldn't be happening right now, right?
Correct. This is the world of 1960. The world of 19 years previous.
Let's try rearranging the story again. I wonder if it couldn't be something like this. Grandfather felt unrequited love with a person called Beatrice. Then he confined her in this hidden mansion and continued to court her. But she was stubborn and didn't give in. Eventually, she grew pessimistic about being able to escape from here and probably ended her own life. And then her soul was put in a homunculus and... No, if I accept that, it's the same as accepting the witch. I can interpret that part like this. She probably had a posthumous daughter. Grandfather must have believed that her soul had been placed in a new physical body and might have thought that the child was the reincarnation of Beatrice. That means at least 19 years ago, Beato existed on this island as the 19th person. I'm starting to get confused. Either way, we can't do more than speculate. The only thing we can say for sure in red is that in 1967, in a hidden mansion on Rokenjima, Beatrice existed as a human. That's all.
That is correct. That's correct. In 1967, a hidden mansion on Rokenjima, Beatrice existed as a human.
Oh, thank you! That really helps!
Congratulations. With this, you've made the clear existence of a piece known as the 19th person. A 19th human for you to blame, just as you longed for. A sacrificial sheep, upon which you can shift the blame of any crime. How amusing that it happens to be Milady.
Renav laughed indiscreetly. Somehow I didn't like the way that he put that, so I didn't feel like laughing along with him. That's right. There's that thing Aunt Rosa said. Beatrice is dead? I killed her. What did that